Safety Science Tools Science Method Variables Test. Directions. Read each question carefully and choose the best answer. Circle it on your test and write the letter on your answer document. This test should be taken on a 0 voice level, and you should be working independently. Raise your hand if you have any questions. If you read these directions, go to question number 9 and draw a picture of a thermometer with a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Be neat and be sure to answer each question. Number 1. A student is working on a lab where they are trying to identify an unknown substance. The student decides to smell the solution by taking a big breath over the test tube. They immediately start to cough and their lungs are burning. Which safety precaution should have been taken to avoid the burning in the student's lungs? Number 1, the student should have worn safety goggles. B, when smelling the substance, the student should waft over the test tube. C, the student should have worn gloves and an apron. D, the student should have used a graduated cylinder instead of a test tube. Number 2. During a science experiment, a student carefully pours an unknown solution from a test tube into a beaker. Another student sneaks up behind them and surprises their friend. The student accidentally drops the beaker on the floor, and a piece of glass lands on their sandaled feet and fly into their eyes. What safety precaution is required to keep the student's eyes from being injured by the glass? The student should have worn closed-toed shoes. The student should not participate in horseplay in the lab. H, the student should always wear goggles when working with glass or substances. J, the student should wear gloves. Number 3. A student is excitedly telling a friend their plans for the weekend and is not listening to the teacher's instructions. There are materials on the table for a lab the students will be doing in class. The student mixes 2 of the wrong substances together and a bad reaction occurs. When should students begin working with lab materials? A, students should begin working as soon as they enter the classroom so they finish on time. B, students should begin working after they read the instructions for the lab. C, students should always listen and follow the teacher's instructions before beginning the lab or touching any of the materials. D, students should always finish talking about their plans before listening to the teacher. Number 4. Which tool from the list below is the best to use to measure 37 milliliters of a liquid? F, a glass beaker. G, a pipette. H, graduated cylinder. J, a triple beam balance. Number 5. What instrument is used to measure newtons of force? A, triple beam balance. B, compass. C, hand balance. D, spring scale. Number 6. In science, we always measure the items below using which units of measurement? Write your answer on the space provided. Be sure it is in metric units. Number 1, we measure liquids using. Number 2, we measure length and width using. Number 3, we measure mass using. Number 7, you will fill in numbers 1 through 7 under question number 7. Scientists use a special way to solve problems and look for answers to questions. We call it the scientific method. Label the diagram with the missing parts. Start here. Number 1. Number 2. Ask a well-defined. Number 3. Write a testable. Number 4. Make the details of the test. Number 5. The test itself, or the lab. Number 6, evaluate, interpret, and analyze the evidence. Number 7, critique. It's a logical explanation. Number 8, you will fill in blanks 1, 2, and 3. When conducting an investigation to answer a scientific question, you must be sure that the test you perform is fair. Fill in the blanks below with the correct type of variable. During an experiment, the factors or conditions of that experiment are called variables. A fair test usually has 3 types of variables. The variable that you can change is called the blank blank variable. The variable that remains constant is called the blank variable. And the variable that responds to the changes you made during the experiment and can be measured or observed is the blank variable. Number 10. Where should you look to find the list of materials you need for class each day before you come to class? Number 11. What number does Mrs. McLean hold up when she needs your undivided attention? Word bank. Manipulated independent variable. Experiment. Controlled. Liters equal milliliters. Plan. Hypothesis. Grams. Meters. Centimeter. Whiteboard outside by the door. Conclusion. For. Goggles. Data. Observe. Dependent. Question.